This is a slide of kidney tissue, and we can see the glomeruli. Each glomerulus is surrounded by Bowman's capsule. I'm going to increase magnification. Here we have a glomerulus. The glomerulus is made up of simple squamous epithelium. You can see all the proximal convoluted tubules. They have a very fuzzy appearance inside because they have microvilli on the apical surface. And I want to pay close attention to this structure right here. This is actually a distal convoluted tubule, and you can see how the cells close to Bowman's capsule are enlarged. That's actually the macula densa. And then here we have the juxtaglomerular cells. I'm going to increase in magnification so we can get a clearer view. Here we have a clearer view of the glomerulus, Bowman's capsule. Here is the distal convoluted tubule. You can see the cells enlarged there. That's the macula densa. These are juxtaglomerular cells. And this is a proximal convoluted tubule. If they look fuzzy inside, they are proximal convoluted tubules. So this is a slide of kidney tissue. You can see the glomeruli here. They're surrounded by Bowman's capsule. I'm going to go up in magnification so you can see them a little bit more closely. There we go. And I really want to focus in on this guy because you can see a lot more on this. But I wanted to point out, see how these tubules are really fuzzy inside? Those are all proximal convoluted tubules. The ones that are not fuzzy are distal convoluted tubules, but here we actually have the distal convoluted tubule with the macula densa. And I want to focus in on this because you may need to be able to see that for your test. Let me get this. So here we've got Bowman's capsule, simple squamous epithelium. This is the glomerulus. And check this out. This is the distal convoluted tubule. Usually distal convoluted tubules are going to be lined with simple cuboidal epithelium. You really see how this area is thicker. That's the macula densa. It's the thick spot. That's what that means, literally. Okay, and then these cells right in here would be the juxtaglomerular apparatus. Those would be the granular cells. So I just wanted to show you that. Now, I can show you other slides in the video of other tissue. This is your best example of that. So I'm going to stop with this because if I start moving slides around, I'm going to lose that one. All right? You're welcome. I'm showing you this one slide today. I'm going to do all the others on the video so you'll see other ones, but this is the best example of other stuff, okay? So here we have kidney tissue. You can tell it's kidney tissue by all these little glomeruli that you see surrounded by Bowman's capsule. I'm going to go up in magnification, and here we can see that glomerulus and Bowman's capsule, and see all of these little tubules that look kind of fuzzy inside. Those are all proximal convoluted tubules. They look fuzzy because they've got microvilli in them. I want to go up in magnification on this because you can really see the other structures, okay? Here we have Bowman's capsule. It's simple squamous epithelium. We have the glomerulus, and I really want you to pay attention to this structure right here. It's not fuzzy inside. This is the distal convoluted tubule, but it's also the one that has this thicker layer of cells. That's the macula densa right there. It's the thick spot. The distal convoluted tubule is lined with simple cuboidal epithelium. So here's another part of that. But this is right next to the glomerulus, and it's thick. That's how I know that's the macula densa. And then these are other cells of the juxtaglomerular apparatus. So you would just call those juxtaglomerular cells, okay? So I'm going to get other slides on the video just so you can see to compare. This is the best example of a glomerulus with the macula densa that I've seen because I've been looking at these for a while. So I'm going to leave that there and just show people what's there. And I made a video of that as well.
And do we see proximal convoluted tubules?
Yeah, these are the fuzzy ones. See how they look kind of non-distinct? Those are all proximal convoluted tubules, all these guys. Okay, so anything that looks fuzzy, that's a proximal convoluted tubule, but this was the only distal convoluted tubule with the macula densa that I was able to find.
The distal has like a more round shape.
They can both have a round shape, but the distal convoluted tubule doesn't look fuzzy inside. It looks a lot more clear.
What is this round?
That's another part of the distal convoluted tubule. But it's just not the one with the macula densa.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It looks like a little ornament.
It looks like a little what?
Ornament?
An ornament?
Yeah. Because the glomerulus is a big part and then the distal is the like little top of the tree.
Yeah, I see that. That's cool. Okay, you want to send, get only going to show you one slide of the kidney. I'll get others on the whole video. The reason I want to show you this slide is because I found a really great example of something, and I don't normally find that on these slides. So here we have a slide of kidney tissue. You can tell it's the kidney because you can see all the glomeruli with their little spaces around them and Bowman's capsule. We're going to go up one in magnification. And here we can see the glomerulus again, Bowman's capsule. Now I want you to notice all these tubes that look fuzzy. Those tubules are proximal convoluted tubules. They look fuzzy because they've got microvilli, okay? And they're actively secreting and reabsorbing, so they look thicker, okay? So all of these fuzzy things are proximal convoluted tubules. We've got some clear ones in there, and that's what I really want to focus in on because I have not yet, until today, found this. Here's our glomerulus, here's Bowman's capsule. We've got the simple squamous epithelium making up Bowman's capsule. There's your capsular space or Bowman's space. Check out this distal convoluted tubule. It's thick right here where it's next to the glomerulus. That's the macula densa there. Isn't that pretty? I have not yet found a macula densa until today, so that was kind of cool. I wanted to show it to you. These are going to be juxtaglomerular cells. This is another distal convoluted tubule. I know it because it's simple cuboidal epithelium. Here's another one, but only this one has that thick area. That's how I know that's the macula densa. Okay, so Again, proximal convoluted tubules look really kind of they look thick and disheveled inside. Sometimes you see the microvilli on them. It's hard to on this particular slide, but we've got a great shot of the distal convoluted tubule with the macula densa. Again, here's another a portion of that distal convoluted tubule. Here's another portion of the distal convoluted tubule, and then this is hard to say what that is. I would guess that it's more distal convoluted tubule, but it could possibly be collecting duct at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. But it's not always easy to distinguish that. But these three are definitely parts of the distal convoluted tubule. That's very, very clear. Okay.
So the top right, like at 1 o'clock, is that an afferent arterial
Top right, 1 o'clock.
of the glomerulus? That vascular looking thing?
This guy?
No.
To the right.
To the right.
No, that's actually another proximal convoluted tubule.
Is it another proximal? Okay.
These guys right here, these are all capillaries in between that tissue.
Okay.
So they're probably, because this is so much proximal convoluted tubule, they're probably peritubular capillaries.
Okay.
And there's something called a vascular pole, which is basically kind of like the hilum of the glomerulus, where the afferent and efferent arterioles come in. And you tend to see more of those on a microscope slide than you do the actual macula densa and the distal convoluted tubule. So when I found this, I was like, ooh, weehaw. Yeah, it's pretty pretty. Okay, now, like I said, I'll get other kidney slides on the video so you can see other examples of tissues, but you're never going to see something that pretty. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so it is on the outer edge. This is another slide of kidney tissue, and all this is really demonstrating is the vasorecta and collecting ducts. Really is not designed to show you the glomeruli, but there's more vasorecta and more collecting duct. This is yet another slide of kidney tissue. Again, we can see the glomeruli with Bowman's capsule, and I'm going to go up in magnification. Here we've got another view of that same slide. We can see Bowman's capsule, the capsular space. We can see the glomerulus, and here we have proximal convoluted tubules. The distal convoluted tubules are a lot more clear. It's harder to distinguish the macula densa on this slide. However, here we can see the difference between the proximal convoluted tubule, which looks really fuzzy inside, and the distal convoluted tubule. There's another distal convoluted tubule. There's a distal convoluted tubule. This is definitely a proximal convoluted tubule. In fact, you can even see the little brush border of microvilli on that one.